Left Wing Kingz. Listen, think, act, repeat.
The impact of Texas Senate Bill 17, which bans diversity, equity, and inclusion programs on state college campuses, is being felt at the University of Texas at Austin. As part of the fallout from the bill, UT plans to lay off dozens of employees in DEI-related positions. So, Walanda, what is DEI and why is DEI important?
Okay. And I'm going to read this definition real slowly for everybody to understand. So please hear the emphasis on what it is and what it's not. So DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. It represents a set of principles and practices aimed at creating environments where all individuals are valued, respected, and provided with equitable opportunities. Okay. Diversity encompasses the range of human differences, including, of course, but not limited to race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, age, ability, religion, and nationality. And then equity involves ensuring fair treatment, access, and advanced opportunities for all individuals. What you did not hear me say, it is regarding job employment or receiving a job based on your race versus merit, which is basically what everybody talks about every time they hear DEI. There is nowhere in that definition, nowhere at all. And the emphasis is on all individuals. So DEI impacts everyone, not of people of various race, gender, regardless of their sexual orientation, once again. So we're talking about everyone, not the select few of what people think DEI is. So why is it important? Because it's inclusive of everyone. So it's a benefit to everybody to understand the differences that we all share and treat everyone the same way. Again, it does not say anything about being hired based upon your race versus your merit or your credentials or your abilities. So I really just want to emphasize that because it's really frustrating me because that's the first thing that people do is think it's about minorities, and it is not. Okay.
Hey, check it out, man. When Walanda get the bat in them eyelashes, that shit is important, man. You know, when them eyelashes get to going up and down like that, it's real. And this is really close to her heart.
Yeah.
You know what I don't understand? Diversity, equity, inclusion. Those are just three good words. I don't understand why it's a problem. Here's my take on it is, why do we even need a program or something that says diversity, equity, and inclusion?
You know why.
We know why. There has to be somebody who does not need that, right? There's somebody that they don't need that. Don't want that at all, but don't need it. Like they're already included because I have to make this so I can be included, right? That's why that is here. And we talk about merit, man, boy, this is a good one. I like to hear this. Well, I want things based on merit. Well, shit, if things is based on merit, then we wouldn't have this problem. We wouldn't need this program if it was just based on merit.
Exactly.
That's the problem. Things aren't based on merit. If we don't have something to say, hold them up. You guys aren't basing this on merit, so we need to be included. This needs to be equal, and y'all need to make sure that it's more than just one type of people around getting hired. Or you said not even hired, but getting all the benefits or privileges or whatever. That's all this is basically saying. And it's there for a reason. Because history, which I don't want us to know, proves otherwise.
Yes, sir.
And we're talking about Texas, so let's keep it there. And we all know how things roll in Texas, and Texas being a blood red state, and who the governor is, who the senator is, and why they're fighting these type of programs and shutting things down here to make sure people aren't included and it ain't equal. It's like I said, it's frustrating that in 2024 we're going back to 1964.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what we're saying is, hey, you know what? We don't like that there's an even playing field now. We want to go back to when it wasn't. That's called Make America Great Again. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we want an even playing field. Mm-hmm. So, I'm with Walanda. You know what I'm saying? I'm batting my eyebrows too. I just don't have the eyelashes just to show it off or emphasize it. But yeah,
hey man,
I'm feeling the same way.
I'm gonna just say, like, for me, when I think of DEI and what it does, besides making sure that the playing field is level, like you said, and besides making sure that people are hired based on their merit, like you said, it's also about acknowledging and understanding the people who you work with.
Yeah.
Right? So that you understand their culture, you understand who they are, you understand where they come from. Understanding other people is a great thing. It helps you be able to treat people fairly. It helps you be able to navigate your relationships better because you understand people. There are programs out there in many corporations and universities here in Texas which focus on Hispanic culture, which focus on Asian, Pacific, Pan American and Asian Pacific people, indigenous people, African Americans, Irish, German. We got whole neighborhoods here. What is it? New Braunfels.
Yeah.
That's a German. New Braunfels. This comes from a place in Germany, Braunfels. I mean, New Braunfels. I mean, all of these, there is culture all around us in the places where we work, and there are different types of people, and celebrating and understanding them is part of DEI too. And people neglect that part of it because they want to focus on what they think it is, where they think that people are getting jobs just because they're Black, and that's not what it is at all. So
Exactly. DEI efforts are implemented across various sectors: your education, your communities, like you said, your workplace, organizations, and it's to foster and promote social justice, equality, and mutual respect.
yeah,
There is nothing negative about anything I just said. And if it is, I'm sorry.
we need more of those things. We need
Yes.
more mutual respect.
And I'll give an example of that. I have, I work with various children, right? So example of that is in some of my Asian students, when they talk to you at a teacher was kind of agitated, let's say, I want you to look at me in my eyes when I'm talking to you. They don't look at you in their eyes. But if you knew their culture, you would understand they're going to put their head down.
Yeah, if you look at Shogun.
Right.
you know.
I'm like, because they respect you. They don't look at you in your eyes. That is part of their culture. Those are the things, the nuances of people that you need to understand. And just why I'm saying that once again, because people don't understand people's culture or differences. And that's what a DEI program is supposed to help with. And there's nothing negative about anything that deals with diversity, equity, and inclusion.
So
those are three positive words.
You talked about what it's supposed to help with. So what is Senate Bill 17 and why is it how is it impacting those programs and why are they trying to shut them down?
Well, basically, Senate Bill 17, which is a bill, which is a law now.
Texas bill, right?
So Texas bill, correct.
Thank you, Abbott.
Yeah. Yes, it is Abbott. Just to let y'all know, yes, who you voted for. It's under this law, public institutions of higher education, cannot engage in diversity, equity, and inclusion activities. In 2023, Abbott signed that bill into law, and it also affects or prohibits mandatory diversity training. So that's where it comes into the workplace. So you can't mandatorily have any type of diversity training in your workplace.
It has to be voluntary. Do you want to learn about?
Do you want to? And then if you notice, it's only in higher institutions. So again, if you're a public educator, you can still have that policy. Because just think about it. If I have a school, how would it negatively or positively impact our community, our organization, if we didn't encourage that we should accept others? Sorry, public education, you have different shades that come into your schools, different religious backgrounds. Same thing whether you want to admit to it or not, sexual orientations at this time. So why would you not put that? It didn't do in all institutions, just higher education. So what message are you sending?
And think about how it helps, to your point, it is a message of acceptance of others, different people. Well, you're trying to stop fighting in the schools. You're trying to stop bullying in the schools.
Right.
So to me, a message of acceptance only helps to solidify those other things that you're supposed to be trying to do. Have peace in the school.
And what
acceptance helps with peace.
Right. And what do schools do? But create, our students to be good citizens, into society, because eventually they grow up, supposed to. You would think that's ultimately what you want to achieve. Good characters and academic excellence. So why would you come back in higher education and say, you know what? Nah, we don't want none of that. We don't want none of that.
Education's where it starts. We want to influence a mass of people. You start with education. You know what I'm saying? So, like that's why you start with taking this out of education. That's why you start preaching that narrative, like everybody's the same color. You know, that works if you have all the chips on your side. You know what I'm saying? You can say that. I mean, everybody's the same, but I got everything. But you're the same. That works for you, good.
Yeah.
That don't work for me, especially when you set up things. And that's what, I hope this hits home with a lot of people that are younger and fell into the generation of we're all the same color, and that's all old now, and that's in the past. That's the importance of history and knowing where you come from, because the things in the past are what are affecting you today. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't know about them, don't understand them, and somebody says, hey, everything's hunky-dory, even though we got all these laws on the books and all these things going on that still affect your life to this day. It's funny, man. I was talking to my mom, and we were just talking in general about politics. That's what we do at 122 West Ridge Drive, just for the hell of it. We were talking about like understanding, and the generations of today really don't understand. Like, your rights aren't a given. That's not given to you. You know what I'm saying? That's basically like your voting rights. That stuff happened in 1964, 65. And they go through that law and they approve that law, probably like every other year. And just like Roe versus Wade, that could be taken away. Your voting rights is black people. You know what I'm saying? Your civil rights is black people. Are laws that had to be written on books so we can get that. And I think a lot of times the younger generation don't understand that. Well, if they start taking DEI, stuff like that, to where you're not even understanding what that is, sooner or later your rights are going to be gone. And it could be that big, it could be that simple. That's how important this thing is. And a lot of people, I don't think, look at it that way. They just fall asleep on the issue.
Yeah.
Yep.
So to that point, there are consequences, right, of this. And this could lead to other things. But right now, as we're seeing this happening to these universities, what are the consequences if a university fails to comply with the DEI ban? Walanda?
I have no words for this one, because I'm just, it just behooves me that we're even here talking about this. But basically, I feel like we're going backwards. Like you said, like we're just, everything that we fought for is just being turned upside down. You know
everything
what I mean?
Our parents fought for.
Right. So, it's almost feeling like, and this is how I feel, or maybe my own personal interpretation, but I feel like students going to feel unwelcomed. Like when you say, I don't want diversity. Nah, I don't want equality. Nah, I don't want inclusion. What does that mean for me as a young adult who's looking now at going to higher institutions? But you're saying, I don't want this for me. So what I do believe is that some of us who look differently from others are going to gravitate where we feel welcomed. And that's my biggest concern. It's like, again, we fought all this reason to be integrated and not against segregation, but then your words are telling me something totally different. You're putting stuff into policy, into practice, and making it laws to make it difficult for me to feel welcomed to get my education. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go where I feel welcomed and I feel accepted. So honestly, I just think it's going to be a boost to HBCUs.
Exactly.
Regardless if you're Hispanic or Asian, a lot of them do. People don't know that, but a lot of them actually attend HBCUs for various reasons as well. So that's what I think.
There was plenty.
Yes. So I really think like some of these institutions, I think it's going to be not what Texas thinks is going to be. And I'm sorry, we make things great. Okay. So I think it's going to hurt Texas. Yeah, I do. I think it's going to hurt Texas. I think the diversity is going to decrease because people feel unwelcomed. And what you're saying and sending a message of, I don't want you here.
Well, let's break it down, man, because I always was curious. And my argument to a lot of people that want to say stupid things like, well, you got your own universities as black people. Well, we don't want that. We had to go. Y'all built them. We had to go. We had to build our own. And y'all underfunded us. You wouldn't hire the graduates. When I was coming out of high school, that's what my grandma told me. You can go to HBCU, but they probably ain't going to hire you. You know what I'm saying? That was her mentality behind it. You know what I'm saying? So not saying that we have to go to like a major university, but even in that case, when it came to HBCUs versus major universities, you underfunded us and you put obstacles in front of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So for the person who's saying, well, DEI is gone, but shoot, black people, y'all got your own universities to go to. Yeah, we do. And we probably gonna go there. Yeah, you're right. You know what I'm saying? But ain't it kind of messed up that we do have that because we couldn't go to the universities back in the day that you went to? You made our own. That's how racist y'all were. That we couldn't even go. We couldn't even get an education. We had to be on our own to get an education. So it's just like crazy that you don't have DEI programs, or that's a problem. And like inclusion, that really hits me. I don't even want to include you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't even want what you talking about, what you doing. I don't want you to be included. There's like a notion, and I think this is probably the Achilles heel of America. Any other major country, most of the time when you go over there or you meet a citizen, like they have people that learn multiple languages and they adapt cultures. Like, you meet somebody from Europe or you meet somebody from Africa. They know multiple languages. They're coming over to learn your culture. America's the only one place like, nope, you got to be American. You got to adjust and you got to change to us, to the point where our citizens don't even try to go out and learn different languages or try to learn anything. I told my kids right now, y'all need to learn Spanish fluently. Like that's one language we should just know automatically off the back as Americans. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think that challenges us on the world stage, like the point to where we're not open as Americans and thinking that you're un-American if you want anything outside of learning the American way. No, I think that that's part of being inclusive and learning stuff. We should be the one nation where we know multiple languages and we understand the cultures because we have
everybody here,
all the cultures here. Instead, we segregate and we push away and we uninclude. That's crazy.
Yeah. So what else is crazy is these fools ain't click that like button. Click it.
Include us.
Okay?
Include
Make
us.
sure you inclusion of the like button in your viewing practices. All right. Also subscribe to Left Wing Kingz and share this content on all of your social media platforms. All right. So how can the universities comply with Senate Bill 17 while still fostering inclusive culture on their campuses?
Oh, that's a Wallanda question right there, boy.
Yeah. And I do want to go back real quick, too. Do you know research funding from federal governments comes from programs that encourage diversity? So that's also going to be another thing that's going to hurt them, too, is their funding. So they ain't getting no more money because they don't like diversity, just to let you know. All right. So hiring new faculty and staff will be able to, I don't know. Ask the question again. Sorry.
No problem. No problem.
Howard.
Yeah. How can universities comply with Senate Bill 17 while still fostering inclusive campus culture? So now that we don't have this House bill, I mean, they basically are told they can't have a DEI program, but what can they do to, still be inclusive to other cultures?
That's probably why I didn't write it down, because it was hard for me to answer. Basically, I mean, you got to model and share stories. You got to make sure that you're representing still, including these students. So it's going to be real difficult for them because I don't know how you navigate through that, because it's almost like you can't use those particular words to do so. So I think they're going to have I think it's going to be very challenging. I mean, you don't have to use that term itself, but some of the practices. So just make sure, you are getting the best of the best that you can. Again, students can't really they can still write, I guess, in their essays about their upbringing, and they can mention race and ethnicity in those. But I think it's just going to be really difficult to make sure that your college is representing and encouraging all diversity, as far as encouraging all students to apply.
Well, yeah.
I think it's going to be hard for them a little bit.
Let me think about it. Like, they can still have clubs and organizations, right?
Yes.
So, they can do that. So, I mean, and this is me just playing devil's advocate. I mean, but I went to college in the 90s. If somebody had a Middle Eastern club or whatever, I didn't join that. I wasn't part of that. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't learning anything. More likely, it's more tribal. You know what I'm saying? I hung out with all the black people. They hung out with all the Middle Eastern people. There wasn't really a meeting point unless football game or something like that. So schools still have that capability, I guess, to have clubs and organizations. And I guess you could have a DEI organization, but you don't have any administration that's fostering that culture.
Yeah, I
for
guess
them
the
to do that.
students could
football.
create their own clubs, but the school can't be associated with it. in any way,
Exactly.
shape,
And so with that being said, that kind of, and when it comes to, that's the students, but let's say the administration, when it comes to jobs or things that need to happen around there, or even just a community of diversity, equity, and inclusion, there's nothing there to kind of foster that culture, so.
It makes it difficult. People have to do it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And look where we're at in the United States. So I guess I'm real optimist, but I feel very pessimistic in that because I think it's been a problem. That's why DEI was created and those terms were brought out to light because we saw what was happening. So we tried to figure out what we could do to curb that. So I just think we're just going to go back to where we were.
Yeah. I wonder
starting point one.
I wonder if, to your point, like if faculty will be allowed to integrate those types of discussions into their teaching or anything like that.
No, because you can't even ask a candidate at a job, like, how do you feel about diversity? That's part of it too. So you don't even know where they stand on diversity. And I don't think they're supposed to speak about it. That's the thing. It's really, they're trying to understand the law because the law was pretty strict.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
think I'm
so
coming at it from a perspective of understanding other cultures. So if I'm a teacher in history, how can I, make sure that I have a lesson dedicated to Pacific Asian Americans? Maybe I have a lesson for African
We don't want woke here, sir.
Maybe I have a lesson. I'm not saying that, but
that's what they think.
That's
what
not
I'm
a
saying,
program.
right.
That's me teaching as part of my, curriculum. I'm not doing a DEI program. I'm just wondering, throwing stuff out there. I don't know.
I think everybody's afraid of Texas right now in Florida. Because your terms always as project is now you're woke or you're doing this or you're indoctrinating, and that's why these words are so dangerous
and
negative. I don't think that's the
Adrian's point. Like it's a starting point, right? You start talking about DEI, but I think you're already doing what they plan to do is just maybe say, hey, well, we're gonna say you can't even talk about it. Like you just said to get rid of our program. You didn't say we can't talk about being inclusive. Like. You said we can't have a program. My faculty is talking about it in a class. That's not a program. We have not developed a program. We don't have people hired. The faculty is talking about it. So now you're telling me not to do that?
Yeah.
So those are two different things. And I can see to both of your points how they might start extending it to those types of things.
Hey, did y'all see what Charlamagne the God had to say on the Daily Show?
Yeah, he felt I was mad that he said, and I kind of get what he's saying though.
So what did he say?
He's not for DEI, and he feels like what did he say I wish I could quote
He was
him.
basically saying, and he said, and I caught a real high-end glimpse of this, but he was saying, like, we all been in those DEI meetings where we were like, this is bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Black people. And he was like, yeah, pretty much we don't even like DEI is basically kind of what he was coming off of his view and his form on it. Like, we don't even like it because we all been in that meeting and we don't pay attention or whatever the case may be. So and
it depends on who's giving the message.
Yeah. So
and it depends on the message that's
and the
being
messages
given.
are being conveyed.
I mean, I've never been in I'm gonna tell you right now, I did not align with that statement at all. I've been in DEI meetings and I'm glad that they're talking about, inclusiveness and equity and understanding and appreciating other people's differences. There's nothing wrong with that stuff. So that goes to my next question. Like, when did DEI become bad?
Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
It's
when it became a political stand.
When it became a political, right?
Yeah, when Trump came into power. To be honest with you, and and let's break it down politically. There's a lot of voters out there that vote for there are a lot of voters. I ain't gonna say vote for Trump or whatever. There's a lot of voters that the problem was Obama, and the problem was the fact that he became president, and the problem was that he had nothing wrong with him when he became president. He had a pretty good presidency. So that's when all this. Let's start taking away the voting rights. Let's start attacking, DEI. Let's start, not talking about history anymore and all of that stuff. All that came out, past 2016, we didn't have these issues. That wasn't a problem. We actually think we're trending up as a nation. And all of a sudden, now it's, let's pull back. Why are we pulling back? We're pulling back because we had a black president. That's why. And they don't want that to happen no more. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's to be honest. I mean, before then, we weren't talking like this prior to 2016. We weren't talking about this in the Obama administration. You know what I'm saying? We started talking about stuff like this and having these problems
After.
after. You know, they immediately went and started attacking voting rights. They immediately started attacking these programs, affirmative action and stuff like that. This wasn't stuff we were talking about. You know what I'm saying? We actually thought as a nation, we had grown to the point that these were things that were going to kind of, we weren't perfect, but we're way better than we were. And we're going to start. But I started turning back. And now we're having political arguments and issues over stuff we weren't having issues with.
Right.
And there's a whole bunch of people that came out and started following a guy, no matter how much criminal shit that he does and how much he steals, for the simple fact that he's talking about this rhetoric right here. He's talking about attacking these kind of things and taking things back to the way they were, basically.
And we know what that looks like.
We know what that looks like.
Right.
We're all here old enough to understand. Everybody here at this table, right? Probably has a story that they can go and say 20 years ago where we weren't included. Like we weren't included. Right now, I never wore dreads in my head because I knew I couldn't get a job wearing dreads. That wasn't part of the thing. Yeah, I couldn't show up to no job interview with no dreads in my head back in the 90s. Not in Texas. You might could have did it in New York or somewhere.
And not here.
Because that culture wasn't included. You see what I'm saying? So we all got those stories. We all know what it feels like or what it looks like. Now, the newer generation that's able to wear their hair and do what they want to do, that think that's the way shit was, it wasn't like that a short time ago. And they're trying to take it back to that. So when these kids start showing up, the ones that are confused and don't want to vote and think everything's hunky-dory and we're all the same color, and they start finding out, well, you know what? Sister girl, you don't look right in that uniform, so we're going to change the dress code. Now you're in dress code violation. A lot of sisters came up and would be in business attire and get sent home because they didn't look right or they didn't this and that. They can't help their body shape. That's what it is. That's what inclusion means. And that's what it's going to start attacking. Now, that's why diversity and inclusion kind of came in and made that better.
Right.
But we're going back to the times where that's going to be a problem.
And just like I said, and I'm not saying every Republican believes in this, but these laws are Republican based. Like, I just need people to understand, they're Republicans, So I'm not trying to shame a Republican. I'm just saying that's who introduced. So Senator Brandon Creighton was the one who introduced it. And like you said, Abbott, of course, followed through and signed on the bill. And there are some senators that are Republican who don't agree with this. They're like, we're going backwards, guys. These underrepresented groups, we are going backwards, and they're going to feel mistreated. Like it's basically, again, just looking at historical. And that's why history is so important to talk about. So local elections, guys, they mean something and they're empowering. And that's how these laws come to fruition. People are like, how did we get here? Not voting for the wrong person, voting for things like these. So now we're here.